Hey, it's Couch Potato. I'm doing my first live stream ever, so bear with me. If there's any issues, let me know. And hopefully you'll enjoy the stream. Hopefully you'll comment, and we'll get this done. So this stream is about well, maybe I'll wait a couple seconds, let people pile in. If anyone there, drop a hey. Let me know you're at the drop a hey in the chat. Let me know you're in, and I'll just wait just a minute or two, get started with this. And like I said, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for you know subscribing to the channel. If you haven't subscribed already, I recommend doing so. I upload videos about once a week, and then I also put my live streams. And my brother just said, "Stop! Don't open that door." For my favorite game, which is the backdrop here, Resident Evil. Resident Evil 1, my favorite game of all time. And I'll talk about that in this stream. And yeah, a lot of people he's talking about all the lines in the beginning of Resident Evil 1. A lot of people talk about the corny voice acting in Resident Evil 1, but I actually kind of like it. I kind of think it adds to the, atmosphere of the game. It's kind of campy anyway, so adding the bad voice acting, I think, just makes it better. So, yeah, it's great. But we'll give it just another minute, and then I'll start. I'll start talking about this stuff here. All right. So, I guess I'll just get to it. All right. So, this is gaming memories, and I just wanted to talk about like my experience with being a gamer since I was a little kid and go through, my favorite experiences with video games and video gaming. And if you are listening and you want to drop in some of your fondest memories, you can do so as well. And we'll talk about your experiences too. It's not just about me. So, um, yeah, where do I start at? So, when I was real young, I lived in Delaware, and down the street, we had friends, Josh and what was his brother's name? Lewis. And Lewis and Josh had an Atari. I guess their parents bought an Atari. So I remember going down to it was in their basement. And I remember going down to their basement and we were playing Atari. We played Frogger, of course. There was a game, we called it Sharky Shark, but I don't know. I think it's just called Shark Shark or something. But it's kind of like, um, what's that game? Feeding Frenzy, where you start off as like a small fish and you have to eat smaller fish than you, and then you get bigger, and then you can eat bigger fish, and so on and so forth. And then eventually you'll turn into a shark, and you can basically eat anything. But there's also sharks swimming around, and you don't want to get eaten by them because that's how you'll die. So, um, so I remember playing that a lot, and that was like my entry to video games and video gaming. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with that. And then fast forward a little bit to later, I moved to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and we had ended up getting a Sega Genesis. My parents got me and my brother a Sega Genesis, and we had a ton of fun with that as well. And then my brother's friend Gordon, who became my friend too, he had a like Nintendo, and a Super Nintendo. So like when we wanted to play Super Nintendo or regular Nintendo, we would go to Gordon's house. If we wanted to play Genesis, we'd play at our house, or he'd come over and play Genesis at our house. But I remember we played Genesis and Super Nintendo a lot, and regular Nintendo. I remember playing a crap ton of Mario 3, and I still think, even though like I'm not the biggest Nintendo fan, like I think Mario 3 is probably the best game ever created. And even though like Resident Evil 1's my favorite game of all time, I think Mario 3 is the best video game ever made. It's just a phenomenal game. And I remember we played a ton of Mario 3, and just hours and hours and hours of Mario 3, and like passing the controller, here you play, I'm going to play. And that was really fun. And then for Sega Genesis, we played, pretty much all the classics like Streets of Rage 2, played a lot of that. Played General Chaos. We used to love General Chaos. Mutant League Football, of course. And then we played, let me think. We played, there's a game called Pigskin Football. And if you haven't played Pigskin Football, I highly recommend playing it on Sega Genesis. It's kind of like a side-scrolling, like, I don't know, it's medieval times, and you run back and forth. It's almost like it's like football, but rugby too. And basically, you're just running the ball, and you can punch you know, the opposing team characters, and you can pick up like weapons, and you can kill them with them, and then they respawn after a couple seconds, and you just run with the football. So Pigskin Football was really fun, and we had a lot of fun playing that. And then Toxic Crusaders, we played a lot of that too. That game's hard, by the way. Toxic Crusaders. If you ever play that on Genesis, it's kind of tough. But we had a lot of fun playing that one too. And then just like random Sega Genesis games. Remember we played. And then for like Super Nintendo, we would go over play. We played a lot of, what is that game? Zelda. The Zelda Link to the Past, I think, is the one on Super Nintendo. Yeah, we played a lot of that one. And I remember we played through it and beat it. And it was just Zelda Link to the Past. I think that's the one on Super Nintendo. I'm sorry if I have that wrong, but oh yeah, my brother just said Toe Jam and Earl. We played a boatload of Toe Jam and Earl too. That was a fun game. Just crazy fun that I guess there's like a purpose to the game, but it was more of just experiencing all the enemies and all the levels and all the crazy stuff that goes on in Toe Jam and Earl. And like, yeah, we played so much of Toe Jam and Earl. And I just remember like trying to find all the secrets. There was one where you had like rocket skates, and you could fly to the bottom of this map, and there was like a hole that you could go down, and it took you to like a bonus level with, I think it was like a hot tub and stuff like that. But we played a ton of that game. And back to the Zelda game. I remember being like, man, I love this game, and I've always liked those like isometric views, like top-down views. So, yeah, Sega Genesis. And then I remember Gordon had the Sega CD also. Gordon had everything, it seemed like. But like for us, we had one console, and it was Sega Genesis. And then, so we played that, and at Gordon's we would play the Sega CD, but I only remember trying Sewer Shark for a little bit, and then What was the other one? There was a tennis game, I think. But anyway, so yeah, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo. We had a lot of fun playing that. Oh yeah, he had CDI tennis. The CDI tennis. I remember we played that a lot, and it was crazy because like I think he was the only person I knew that had a CDI like ever. Like I've never heard anyone else say they had a CDI. I mean, there's collectors obviously now that have CDIs and stuff, but at the time, at the time, a lot of people only had like one console each. But Gordon had like a bunch. So, but yeah, at that time, and that's why you see like kind of a divide in collectors is like you back then, we're talking like late 80s, early 90s or whatever. Most people only had one console. So you either had Super Nintendo or you had Sega Genesis. You barely rarely had both. But and then also I remember I had a friend who was like rich and he had like all the stuff like I don't even remember all the stuff that he had, but he had like the Sega Genesis with the Sega CD and the 32X, and then he had I think Jaguar, and there's just a whole bunch of stuff he had. And his parents like got him whatever he wanted. His name was Ben. And I remember playing there too, because he lived in a mansion, and that was a lot of fun. And then we went. What was after Sega? Sega. Then we like. I think it was PlayStation One. We like begged our parents to get us a PlayStation One, and I think we told them like, "Hey, you can combine our, you know, Christmas present, Hanukkah present, or whatever, and you can combine that and whatever else, and we'll take it as a gift." And then they ended up getting us a PlayStation One, and I remember it came with Battle Arena Toshiden, and I remember we played that a lot. Yeah, he just said Battle Arena Toshiden. It came in like a bundle, and I remember us getting that, and we were like so excited. We're like, "Oh yeah, we got PlayStation." And then back then we had like I guess even during the Sega Genesis times, there was a local video game store, and because back then there was a lot of like video game rental places, movie rental places, and we would always walk up there because we could walk there and rent games. So we would rent like Sega Genesis games, PS1 games, whatever other games there were, and that was really cool because we could try things. Because like we couldn't get a lot of games personally because they were expensive and parents didn't want to pay for the games. So but I remember going up there and renting them a lot. And then there was one time where we rented a whole system. I think it was like N64. We rented N64 for like a weekend, and that was really awesome. So, yeah, a lot of fond memories because we all hung out in my parents' basement, like all the neighborhood kids, me and my brother, and we would always be like messing around gaming and stuff like that. And then it was like PlayStation 1, and then I remember we got Resident Evil 1, and at the time I was like blown away by that because like you got to think back then you're going from little like 16-bit like sprites to like 3D rendered models. And when we had our PlayStation 1, it was like, man, this is so real. And I think it's funny that it's funny looking back because it's like these games today are so realistic, but back then games like Resident Evil 1 and Battle Arena Toshiden, they look so real to us because we weren't used to seeing things like that. And I remember we played through Resident Evil 1 a lot, And back then, you didn't have a lot of like YouTube. You didn't have YouTube, so you didn't have YouTube videos. You didn't have a lot of like walkthroughs, or so you had to like figure everything out yourself. And I remember playing through Resident Evil, and it took us a long time. Like now, I can beat it in a decent amount of time, but back then, it's like if you got stuck, you got stuck. You had to figure it out because there wasn't really anything to look at until like Game Facts became a thing. So we played PlayStation 1 a lot for sure. And I don't know why, the game's probably not even good. I got to get it so I can try it again. But there's a game on PlayStation that always sticks out in my brain when I think about PlayStation. I don't know why, but it's Fantastic Four. And I don't know if there's different ones on PlayStation 1, but there's a game Fantastic Four, and I just remember playing the crap out of that. And I don't even know if it's good or not, but it's kind of crazy. And then we played, I think it was Fighting Force. We played a lot of Fighting Force, and that was fun. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of PlayStation 1 games now are really like dated looking. It doesn't really hold up to the test of time. But I remember doing that as well. Oh, and going back to Genesis again, I remember we played Booger Man a lot. And I remember we were like, dude, this game is so wild. Booger Man. Oh, yeah, Diablo 1 on PlayStation 1. We played a lot of that too. And that got me really into like Diablo. And then when we finally got like a home computer in the basement, I remember getting when Diablo 2 came out. And we played a ton of Diablo 2 also. I remember playing Paladin and Paladin on um, Diablo 2 was just awesome. And like, man, it's so fun playing these games. And like, so going up the gaming journey, I think then we had PlayStation 1 and then we got PlayStation 2. And I remember talking my parents into PlayStation 2 because, or me and my brother probably talked them into it at the same time, but we convinced them because it was a DVD player. We're like, hey, we can get DVDs. It's a DVD player. It just happens to be a game console too. So we got PlayStation 2. And then we had Dreamcast as well. And we played a lot of Dreamcast, like football on Dreamcast. I think it was Quarterback Club was the game on Dreamcast that we had. And that was really fun. And at the time, it was like, man, this football game looks so real. Like, it's not going to get better than this. And we played a boatload of that too. And then we had, what else did we play on Dreamcast? It was basketball. We played a ton of basketball because back then I was a huge like 76ers fan and used to watch basketball religiously. And we used to play that NBA 2K so much. Like that game was incredible. And we have funny stories. Oh yeah, Grandia 2. We played a ton of Grandia 2, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. Probably my favorite RPG of all time. Got to take a Grizzly, the NBA 2K. That was funny. Um, but yeah, NBA 2K, the NFL game, I think it was Quarterback Club. I'm pretty sure. And then PlayStation 2, we got into like ESPN. ESPN was it 2K5? Yeah, 2K5, maybe not ESPN. Then 2K5, we played a ton of that. PlayStation 2, we played a lot of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And I used to love San Andreas that you could like eat and get fat, or you could go to the gym and work out and get like muscular. So San Andreas was an awesome game. We had that too. And like I said, there was a lot of games at the rental store up the road that we played. I just, can't think of them off the top of my head. Oh, and then N64, we ended up having that too. And Yeah, SOCOM. My brother played SOCOM a ton, like a ton. And and what was the other? Um, yeah, N64. We love that too because wrestling games. Back then, we were really into wrestling. WWF at the time. Now it's WWE, but it was WWF. We used to play a crap ton of those. And then GoldenEye 007. Played a lot of that. A lot of multiplayer with people in the neighborhood, kids in the neighborhood, where we would like have like our own little tournaments and stuff. And I just remember having the double clubs. I think the gun was called Clob or something. I would run around with the double clubs and just blast people. And either that or the AK. And that was a lot of fun. But wrestling games, we played a ton of wrestling games. Oh, and going back to Genesis, I know I'm jumping around a lot, but we played a lot of wrestling games on Genesis too. The Royal Rumble, we played a lot of Royal Rumble. Played a lot of WWF Raw. That was great with Doink the Clown and uh, Papa Shanga and Bam Bam Bigelow, Luna Vachon, like all those classics. Attitude Era Wrestling was the best. And like right before Attitude Era, um, that was the best wrestling. And then jumping back again, we we just kept gaming from there, like Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, and then we got Xbox, original Xbox, and what was with the original Xbox? What came out with that? Oh, I remember Gordon had the GameCube, and we played some games on the GameCube. But the regular Xbox, we played a lot of Halo, played Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, and what was the other one? NBA Inside Drive. I played a ton of that game. That game is low key good. That game is low key awesome. Like I remember creating a superstar in that, and like you can build them up. And yeah, Champions of Norath, PlayStation 2. We had a ton of fun playing Champions of Norath. I love hack and slash games, always have. You know, Diablo, Diablo 2, Champions of Norath, Baldur's Gate. Yeah, we used to play all those. Those games were really awesome. And yeah, just a ton of time gaming. I've been a gamer since I can remember and still a gamer now. And then I remember I got the Xbox 360, and then my brother got the PlayStation 3, and then I think he got Xbox 360 also. And then that's when like Call of Duty 4 just like consumed our lives. Like Call of Duty 4 when it came out, it was such a big deal. Like everybody and their mom and their pet chipmunk was playing that game. And I remember we would play that. And then back then they had game battles. They had um, whatever the other thing was for competitive gaming. And then my brother got really into the competitive gaming scene, and his team did really well. They were always like second or first in game battles. They would always go up against Fear, Team Fear. And back then, Team Fear was like the legit. But my brother's team was also super legit. And just a lot of fun with that. Because that's when like online gaming was like, became like super popular. Like the multiplayer scene. Right around that like 360 PS3 time. I know original Xbox has it, but it was like Xbox 360 and PS3 when the massive online gaming was like becoming super popular. And yeah, Call of Duty 4 consumed like every second of my existence other than sleeping and work. And it was that game's incredible. It's one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had was Call of Duty 4, the original Modern Warfare. And I just remember like all the fun times we had doing game battles and all the tournaments at local stores. And I remember my brother won a tournament at a local GameStop. And then like memories of GameStop where you would go for like midnight releases. And I remember when Modern Warfare 2 came out, we went to the midnight release, and there was like massive amount of people there, and it was just awesome. Like everyone was so pumped up and excited for what is it? The Modern Warfare 2. Sorry. Um, and then we got that and we played the heck out of that too. Same deal. We started off on Modern Warfare 2 just like Call of Duty 4 and just went on from there. And then I really got into Modern Warfare 3, and I know a lot of people fell off at Modern Warfare 3, but I played it a ton. And some of it was frustrating, but it was really fun. And I just remember, and then I've always liked survival horror too, so like Silent Hill 1 on PlayStation 1, I remember we played the heck out of that. And back then it was like cutting edge graphics, and it scared the heck out of me. I'll be honest. Like those little babies, shadow babies in the school creep me out, and just all the random stuff in that, the pyramid head and all that stuff. Like, oh man, Silent Hill 1, I think we played through and beat that game actually. And then Silent Hill 2 came out on PlayStation 2. So we had a lot of fun with that as well. And I think we beat that one as well. But man, I love the Silent Hill series. We are super excited. I'm super excited for the remake that's coming out soon. Silent Hill 2 remake. Really excited for that. Can't wait to play that. And man, yeah, survival horror games, Resident Evil. I remember we played Resident Evil Code Veronica on Dreamcast, I think it was. I think we might have rented it. And I remember we played up to the airplane part, and we couldn't figure out how to kill the tyrant on the airplane. So we kind of just like gave up on it. And I want to go back and play that game and beat that game since I didn't actually do it before. Because I think there's a lot of people that say that game's like super underappreciated, and a lot of people want a remake of that game. So hopefully eventually they'll remake it, since they're remaking all the other Resident Evil games. Like I heard Resident Evil 1's about to get a remake just like Resident Evil 2. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so many good gaming memories. It's hard to remember them all, or because there's so many, but I just remember that. And then like PC gaming too. Like we always play games on the PC. I remember having like Commander Keen. Commander Keen was fun. And that's back when they had like 3.5-inch hard disks. And then before that was 5-inch floppy disk. But that was a really fun one. Commander Keen. And then like obviously your classics like Oregon Trail and Where in the World's Carmen Sandiego. And then Diablo 2. And then Warcraft 2. I remember playing a boatload of Warcraft 2. And I got introduced to that game by this kid named Vance that I was friends with in school. I think I was in middle school at the time. And Vance was like, "You got to check this game out. It's fun." And I was like, "Okay." And I got sucked into it. Like, I was like, this game's incredible. Warcraft 2. And then there was another game he played that was Gene Wars, I think it was called. Gene Wars or Gender Wars or something. I think it was Gene Wars, but I can't remember. And then Crusader No Remorse. We played a lot of Crusader No Remorse. That was fun. And yeah, just having a lot of fun. Gaming is such a thing. Oh yeah, I forgot about Tomb Raider. Yeah, we played Tomb Raider a lot too. And of course, like young boys back then, it was like, oh, this girl with big boobs was the main character, and they might have been triangle, but we didn't care. But Tomb Raider was really fun. I remember playing a lot of that, and that was, and I still play Tomb Raider. I'm actually playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider right now, so I'm probably like halfway through that game now. But yeah, I love all the Tomb Raider games are great too. I love the like exploring the puzzles and all that stuff. So Tomb Raider, another great series that we played a lot of. I think it was Tomb Raider. Was it Tomb Raider 1 or Tomb Raider 2 where you could go in her mansion and like swim in the pool? And then I think there's a thing where you could trap her butler in the walk-in freezer or something. And then we played like Hitman. Hitman was good. Just like a ton of good games. And like I said, back then with the rental places, you got to try out a lot of different games because there was rental store right up the street. Then you could go to Blockbuster when Blockbuster was around, rent games at Blockbuster. So it was really a good time to grow up as a kid, good time to be a gamer. And it's crazy to think about the progression of games from when I started as a kid to now. Like going from Atari, which looks, very primitive and kind of abysmal, to like realistic graphics of today. It's just crazy. And to be able to say I lived through all those advancements, like to go from Atari to the 8-bit Nintendo sprites and then to the 16-bit sprites from Genesis and Super Nintendo, and then to go to what's the other one? And then to go to PlayStation. Slept on games, Siphon Filter, yes. Siphon Filter, great game. I remember playing Siphon Filter 2 a lot with my brother here, and we used to play that a lot. Siphon Filter, it was a good series. I wish they would like remaster the first two, or at least just remaster the second game. I don't know why no one's tried to. Well, maybe someone's tried to do it, but I don't know why, you know, they haven't done that yet. Because that's. Siphon Filter 2 was a really good game. And I remember it was super popular back then. Like, a lot of people liked that game. A lot of people played that game. And, man, we just had such a good time. Like, gaming in the basement. And I don't think it's just the games either. I think it's the experience of, like, the games and having your friends around or doing sleepovers and playing games all night. And then back then it was a lot of like couch co-op games because online gaming wasn't really a thing. And so a lot of memories were made with just playing with friends, hanging over their house. You would sit on the couch or on the floor, play the games. You would stay up all night playing games and just not a real care in the world actually. And it was just man, incredible. Like so many fond memories I have of playing these games. And then I remember like even 360 was such a jump in like graphics and performance. And I remember when 360 and PS3 came out, it was like, wow, this is when it started looking like legit, like real. And they started to like render, things that looked real. And I think playing through like Resident Evil 2 just now with the stream, I just beat Resident Evil 2. I'm going to probably play Resident Evil 1, the original. And I feel like the pre rendered backgrounds really help that game hold up today. So, like, the character models don't look that great, but the pre rendered backgrounds make them hold up a lot. And it's just, man, there's so many memories and so many things popping in my head. I can't think of what to talk about next. And I know I'm jumping around a lot, but you're talking about 30 plus years of gaming history that I'm recalling right now. And so, yeah, I'm trying to think of other games that we played a lot of. I know the original Zelda on Nintendo we played a lot of. I know we played a lot of that. We played, there was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game on Sega Genesis that we played a lot of. There was, um, there was that Spider-Man game where you could play as Spider-Man or Venom. We played a lot of that. That game was fun. Um, PlayStation 1. I remember I had a friend, Adam, and we played Resident Evil 2, the original, 1998. I remember him and I would go back and forth between his house and my parents' house, and we would play Resident Evil 2, and it was like, I'll bring over my memory card, and he would be like, okay, or you bring over your memory card, and we would just save it and then continue at each other's houses. Oh yeah, we played that Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck game for Genesis. That game was so awesome. Like World of Illusion it was called. And I played that recently and that game's still really fun. Like if you want a fun like non-serious game, try that World of Illusion. Cuz you can play as Mickey or Donald and it's just an awesome game. And there is a level in that I really liked, and I want to play the game again now because of that. There was a level where you were like in a candy store. I don't know. It seemed like it was a candy store, and there's like candy everywhere, and um, you could like jump on the like stapler that was on the desk, and you can pick up the candy pieces. And man, that game was so awesome. Then there was another one where you make the cards from Alice in Wonderland like fall down so you can like jump across. Man, that game was so good. Maybe I'll have to find a way to like stream that. I'll get like an emulator or something and stream World of Illusion. We played a lot of that. General Chaos, we played a lot of that too. Like I remember I used to love playing that dynamite guy. So I would try to sneak behind enemy lines and they'd be behind the barricades. And I would take the stick of dynamite and just like chuck it over the barricade. And the guy would go like this. And then the dynamite would blow and they'd all get like annihilated. And that game was really fun. And then they had the flamethrower guy who was like just torching everybody, everything. Man, that game was awesome. I wish they would make a new age General Chaos that's not like that's more like up to modern times. And they could even make it like online multiplayer. So like you could pick sides kind of like a team deathmatch, and like you would have to pick different characters. So it'd be like 4 on 4. So like someone would have to be the flamethrower guy, someone would have to be the machine gun guy, um, someone would have to be the dynamite guy, and yeah, that would be fun if they made that like new age. I would have a lot of fun playing that. So yeah, man, that was such a time to be alive. And I always tell people, like, I know probably every generation says this, but I really think growing up in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s as a kid is like, was the best time to be a kid. Like, I really do. Like, they had a lot of the best cartoons, had a lot of the best games, like video games. Oh, yeah, NHL 94. Oh my gosh, we played so much of that game. Oh man, NHL 94 is incredible. I still play it now. I think you can get it on Game Pass or something. I think you can get it on Game Pass. NHL 94, man, if you want to play a hockey game, that's the game to play. Like, that game is so fun. And then we played like NHL Hits. That game is fun, but I only played that like recently. And it's basically like, I don't even know how to describe it, like NFL Blitz but NHL. And man, that game's fun too. And yeah, and then College Slam, yeah, NBA Jam, College Slam, of course, played that a lot because, like I said, I was really big into basketball then. I'm not much anymore, but man, I used to love those games. It's like boom shakalaka, he's heating up, and then he's on fire, and man, like there's so many good games. There's so many good games. Oh man, like I collect video games, and I collected a lot of games, and I wish if I could go back to when I started collecting games, I would just buy all the games that I played throughout my history of gaming. Oh yeah, Captain America's and the Avengers, or Captain America and the Avengers. We played a ton of that too. That was fun. I used to always love playing Hawkeye or Vision. But all the characters in that were pretty cool. But like Vision and Hawkeye, I think were my favorite. Captain America and Avengers. And Genesis was such a good system for like the beat 'em up games. So you had like Streets of Rage 2. You had Spider Man and Maximum Carnage, Spider Man, and Venom. I mean, that might have been the same game. Well, there's a Separation Anxiety was one too, and they just had a ton of good beat 'em ups like uh, Toxic Crusader. They had Comic Zone was really good, and yeah, Comic Zone. I remember playing that and was like, man, this is so cool. Like you're playing through a comic, and you can like break through the walls of the comic because they call the frames walls or whatever. And yeah, remember playing Comic Zone a lot. But that game was tough too. That game was tough. And I think I heard talks that they were going to make another one, or maybe they did make another one, or like an updated version. But Comic Zone, yeah, that was a great game. And then we played Vector Man. I remember that being hard too. And Earthworm Jim. We played a lot of Earthworm Jim. That game was fun. There's just so many games. But yeah, what I was saying was Genesis had so many good beat 'em ups. And I love the beat 'em up genre. I love survival horror. I love hack and slash. All that stuff. I do like first person shooters. I like them a lot more than like back in 360 time. Modern time, not too many catch my attention, but man. And then newer games like the Xbox One, PS4, a lot of good games on those systems too. Used to have a lot of good time playing, you know, State of Decay 2, playing, what's the other one? Ghost of Tsushima, incredible game. And then, like, Until Dawn. Until Dawn was a great game for PS4, and just so many. Like, I don't know. That's a lot. It's a lot of memories, a lot of talk. So, probably going to wrap this up here, but that's basically my whole life with gaming, you know, from now till back then till now, from a little kid to now, a grown ass adult, and still gaming strong. I I'm streaming on Twitch, so if anyone wants to catch me streaming on Twitch, I'll be streaming tomorrow night and Sunday night, as of this recording, which is Friday, May 17th. So May 18th, May 19th, I'll be streaming on Twitch. I'm going to be playing the original Resident Evil on PlayStation 1, the classic. And yeah, we'll have a lot of fun with that. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you could subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And keep on gaming. I hope you have fun with whatever you're playing. And there's a lot of good games out there. And I hope that you enjoy your experiences. Hope that you have created a lot of good gaming memories. And till the next stream, keep on gaming.